What permits are needed for a food truck in Wisconsin? How do I get a food truck license in Wisconsin? So welcome to Marketing Food Online's new channel, Food Truck Freaks. We are all about food truck entrepreneurship, and in this particular video, we had a question from one of our subscribers about how to get a license for a food truck and how to get a food truck actually just up and running. So welcome to our brand new channel. Of course, hit the subscribe button. We definitely appreciate all of the support and help. We are launching, this is our fourth food entrepreneur channel. Check out the links down below the description, by the way, for our other channels. And we will also have a handful of useful links directly to the state of Wisconsin's mobile food website page to actually help you out even more, give you additional resources. So let's hop right into it. There's a lot of really unique actual permits and licensing and processes when it comes to operating a food truck in Wisconsin. Unique actually unto itself. Many states have a lot of similar laws, but there are some unique things about Wisconsin, so we're going to definitely cover that here in the video. So first off, what you need to get is what's known as a mobile retail food establishments permit. So basically how this works is that all mobile retail food establishments and mobile services based not licensing during the previous year must be inspected before opening for business. So what that means is you have to apply for this specific mobile retail food establishment license. That's kind of how it's actually labeled or categorized in Wisconsin. If a mobile service is based in the location and is different than jurisdictions from the mobile retail establishment, the operator of the mobile food truck establishment must first apply for a license for the mobile service base, meaning something to the effect of like a commissary kitchen or a commercial kitchen. That is something that you need to check out. Also, you need to try for if you're going to get a transient retail food establishment license. So basically, all in all, what this means is any retail food establishment that actually serves or operates in a fixed location for no more than 2 weeks. You can't be there for more than 14 days in conjunction with any other occasional or sales promotion or a special event of some kind. You need to apply for that license. Now, something that's really unique is Wisconsin state statutes actually require that the person operating the food service establishment, the food truck itself, have a valid license issued by the department and or the agent health department in Wisconsin. These license types are transferable from one location to another, meaning this is actually really the unique part about Wisconsin and their mobile food licensing. What this specifically means is that if you travel from one county to the next, you can still operate without having to buy or get an additional license or permit to operate your food truck in a new county. This is very, very unique to Wisconsin because a lot of states actually require the moment that you cross into a different county, you have to go there to their business development office or the business licensing, and you actually have to get an additional permit to operate within that new county. I know it sounds kind of weird and strange, but it's actually true. So in Wisconsin, once you get it and you cross over to a different county, you can still operate without having to get it. So it actually cuts back also on your expenses as well. Next up, I'm going to go through a list of permits and licenses that are, that are pretty much the similar across the board as far as basic business licensing and such. These are things that pretty much every state implements and you need to make sure you have. Of course, number one, a seller's permit. So a seller permit to allow food service operators to actually acquire materials and supplies at wholesale costs without actually paying taxes, sales tax on them. So a lot of food truck operators that buy ingredients, packaging, plates, smallwares, plasticware, straws, anything that's actually used to create and develop a final product which is going to be sold to a customer. You don't pay tax on that. You collect the sales tax when you actually sell it to the customer. So a lot of people don't realize that. So you want to make sure that you get a seller's permit. It actually goes by several different names, but all in all, it's the permit that allows you not to be taxed twice. So you basically, like I mentioned, collect the tax when the product is sold to the buyer. So to find out if a seller's permit is required in your state and how to actually apply for one, go to the Wisconsin State website. And again, I'll have links for that down below. And you can follow up on the seller's permit. Next up, fire certificates. Yes, a fire inspection. So basically how this works is if you're new to the food truck industry, your food truck is literally a kitchen on wheels. So any propane that you have, any generators you have, electrical equipment that runs off of gas or propane, all of this, all in all, will run into any situation where potentially could ignite, it could explode, or you could have some potential accident, God forbid. But you have to get a fire inspection to make sure everything's hooked up correctly, things are working properly. You may have to also have fire extinguishers to make sure the electrical work. If you've had a customized truck, make sure it's correctly done. So there's a lot to it. But fire inspections and certificates are another one. Next up, parking permits. You're going to need to find out within the city. Not a lot of counties will have this ordinance, but the city will. You need to make sure that you don't have to pay for a parking permit. In some cases, you may have to pay for a parking permit. And what that means is that they're going to designate a specified spot within a either roadway or an area where there's commerce or commercial buildings or some type of retail area that's going to allow you to park your truck legally for a set designated time on a set designated day or a certain week. Normally how it works is that you're going to be given a set amount of time in a couple of days. It can be, hey, you know what, Damien, you can operate your truck Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but it's got to be at this time, and you can't be on that curb or this curb. You have to be within this area. So the parking permits will tell you specifically what you'll need to get. Next up, commissary letter of agreement. So if you're actually tied to a commissary or commercial kitchen, you need to have a commissary letter of agreement. What does that mean, Damien? So your food truck will be quote unquote attached to a designated commercial or commissary kitchen, a place where you get fresh water for the day, you empty out your dirty water, get away your trash, clean out everything. Maybe even they offer as well food storage for the following day, ingredient storage and that kind of thing that are refrigerated or possibly potentially frozen. So you're going to have access to all of these types of pieces of equipment, kitchen equipment, and other services and utilities, okay? That's what a commissary letter agreement is. It's you signing an agreement with a specific commissary or commercial kitchen. That is the place where I'm going to be parked. That's where I do my cleaning. That's where I finish off my day. That's what that means. Next up, some cities will also require you to have a SOP. It's a standard operating procedures document. Now, what that means is that everything you do, the city's going to say, hey, you know what, John, Chris, whatever your name is, I need you to have a standard operating documentation. What exactly do you make? How do you make it? What's the process of cleanup? What's the process of sanitizing your equipment? All of your employees need to be aware of the SOP and what is expected, and we're going to keep that on file. Cities will require this, so you need to check specific, not the county, but with the city you're going to be operating in, okay? Next up, special events permit. Food truck businesses, no matter where you go, normally and almost always will have to have, it's kind of a temporary permit for a different event. If it happens to be a private event, like a wedding, a corporate event, if it's in a park, in a specific park, and you're doing a specific event for a company, you need to have a special events permit. It's also known as a vending permit or a temporary authorization permit, okay? These are basically, like I said, you're gonna be there for a set amount of hours. You're gonna be there on a Friday or a Saturday. You've got a corporate event for a local business, great. You're gonna be parked there, but you need to have a specific event permit to be parked there, okay? Next up, the licenses for the business. Let's get into that. Now, more specifically, you're going to have a vendor's license or a basic business operation license, also known as just a business license. It all means the same. In order for you to operate a food truck, you need to be a business, a legitimate business. You need to register with your state and have a business license. That's going to allow you to open business bank accounts. It's going to allow you to create business accounts that are specifically with the food truck and not you yourself individually as a sole proprietor of some kind, but incorporate that business, okay? And the business license can be anywhere from $50 to $100, or even I've seen them as high as $500, depending on what your state charges for that. Next up, the big one, big one, IRS, okay? They're gonna ask for a EIN. They're gonna issue you an EIN, actually. That's an employer identification number. If you're going to run a business and you're going to have a profit, you need to obviously file taxes. Your business needs to file taxes. Also, you do as well, but the EIN is kind of like a social security number for your business if you're not familiar with it. Plus, down the road, as you have employees, payroll, anything else that goes along with the expenses of hiring additional help, you're going to need to have an EIN. So, for tax purposes, you're going to be able to give that information to the IRS of how much money you made, what's taxable, and obviously your accountant can handle all that. Next up, a valid driver's license. Now, you might be thinking, well, Damien, that's kind of silly. I mean, of course I have to have it. Well, you'd be surprised. Believe it or not, a lot of food truck owners will bring 1 or 2 extra people on help, or maybe 3 people. If you've got employees, and let's just say you have 2, and you have one of them driving your vehicle with an expired license, and you happen to not be on the vehicle that day or just for a certain period of time, but they're driving and they get into an accident and they don't have a valid license, guess what? You are the owner of the food truck. That's going to fall on you and the employee too. But not having a valid license is going to cause some legal problems potentially for your business. Remember, your food truck is the actual business, It's not like you have a restaurant and you have a vehicle where someone was driving and you were catering an event and they didn't have a legal, legitimate license. That's not it. This is like your entire vehicle could be ticketed, impounded, you could lose a license or a permit, whatever it may be, it could be a serious problem. So yes, a valid driver's license for everybody who is on the vehicle in case they happen to be driving and you, the owner, are not doing that, okay? That can cause you a lot of problems. Next up, permit to work as a food handler. It's also known as a food handler's license. The certification program for that is actually food management certificate. That is a process where you go through a program that teaches you how to properly store food, how to properly cook it, what temperatures food need to be kept at, sanitizing the equipment, and so on and so on. It's basically about food safety, obviously. But in some cities, they require that for food trucks. Normally, you'll see these almost in every restaurant, cafe. If it's a food you're going to have with that is the potential for people to get sick if they don't cook the food properly. You can also have a lot of cafes and restaurants that have requirements for management on duty to make sure that they are actually licensed and certified through that program. So you want to make sure that you have that as well. That may be a requirement in a city that you work in. Normally the counties won't require that, it's a city ordinance. Lastly, and not of course the least, but the health department. So the permit that you need for the Department of Health, which is of course standard across the board, is going to be a food service license, and that's going to actually be the license that allows you to get inspected by the health department. They could come at any point in time. They also do a lot of inspections during food truck rallies or food truck events. If you're at a special event, there may be a potential for an inspection at any moment. Basically, the health department is going to enact any type of rules and regulations that they need to ensure that the food that you're serving is served properly, food stored, things are cleaned at the end of the day, and that's something that you definitely just don't want to play around with, because if you get health inspection violations, you're going to get into some serious problems. I can tell you, I've had health inspections when I owned and operated the Italian bakeries. They come in and check everything from head to toe. It's no different on the food truck. You know, in Wisconsin, it's the same. Wisconsin's health department's not going to play any games with you. They're going to want to make sure everything is good. And those normally, as far as the cost for those permits, they can range from $50 up to about $500. Normally, I've seen them. Most of the ones that we had in the past were around $150 to $175 a year, and those are annual. Okay, so this is a gist of some of the licenses and permits when you are starting to ask the question about how do I get a food truck license in Wisconsin, and of course, what permits are you needed for a food truck in Wisconsin. These are a good rundown. I'm going to give you also additional resources below this video. You can do a little more research, of course, on your part and take a look at that. So if you have any questions about starting a food truck business in Wisconsin, definitely let us know. And hit the subscribe button. We appreciate every new subscriber. We have a load of content that we are making and uploading as soon as we can. It has all kinds of fantastic marketing tips for food trucks, starting, what kind of insurance do you need, how to get the licenses and permits, and so much more. So we'll see you guys in our next video.